Okay, not the video I thought I was going to be making today, but the news is just too good. Optic Gaming has returned. And I don't mean the brand in Immortals form or Infinite form, I mean Hex has apparently reacquired. Now, this is coming off an article by the Esports Observer saying that Optic Gaming has been reacquired by Hex outside of NRG. And the reason I'm making a video on this, because I don't do a lot of reactionary stuff, is because the consequences and the implications of this are fascinating to me. If we take it at face value, because it is obviously burst sources and nothing has been announced, there are several things to think about now with Optic returning. First of all, Optic's brand Optic's brand was punched into the floor, kicked by the fans and spat on. Coming back to this one now, can Hex revive it is a big question here, because he has built up the Huntsmen brand, a brand that as far as we know he loves. But obviously maybe not as much as his baby Optic Gaming. So on face value, Hex obviously can't have two CDL franchises. He is not allowed. According to this, because he's bought it outside of the NRG family, it doesn't mean that NRG don't own the Optic Gaming or the second slot, but it will mean, because of Hex's involvement with NRG and his ownership of that company, he will have to divest himself of a slot. Now, which slot does he do? Because the most obvious thing for him to do would to be just go straight to the Optic Gaming LA. It's all set up, doesn't really do anything else, and just divert, get rid of the funds from NRG and his ownership in that company. It's a little bit more complicated than that, unfortunately, right? Because it's not as easy and as clear cut as him just buying it. First of all, Hex had to get the money from somewhere. I don't know where, how rich Hex is, but that can't be in a cheap slot. But obviously, it does appear that Hex wants that Optic Gaming brand back, right? He either regrets selling it or he thinks he can do more with it, and he decided, you know what, that is me. The other problem is that Optic isn't just a brand and it isn't just Hex, it's an ideal, and realistically, that includes Scump. Now, Scump is currently with Chicago Huntsmen, and I don't know how the rest of NRG, because you've got to remember, NRG are a party to this, outside of just Hex, would feel about technically Scump going to Optic Gaming LA if they can remain Optic Gaming LA. Is that a possibility? What does his contract say? What are the legalities in and amongst it? Because Hex can only be involved with one. And obviously, if he is going to revive Optic Gaming and bring them back, then he probably wants to do that with Scump. Big part of the brand. He's got Formal there as well. It would be like a phoenix from the ashes, and all of a sudden everything is well with the world. Possibly the best news of 2020. So, what does Hex do? If I had to guess, and some fans have been saying this, Hex may look to divert, get rid of that entity he has bought, rebrand the LA one is a potential, right? And rebrand Chicago to Chicago Optic, right? The Huntsman brand, I don't know what happens to it. Whether or not Hex just puts it by the wayside and says the Optic brand is better, which it probably is. It would be a huge boon for Call of Duty to have an Optic people actually care about. Or what happens to the Huntsman, and then what that LA slot gets rebranded to. Because I don't know if Scump can move, and that's the big question here. It would make more sense for it to be the Chicago Optic Gaming and have Scump and Hex at the helm, and you'd probably have like Hitch in there, and that he could rebuild that family that everybody loves so much, rather than go over to Optic Gaming LA and have to kind of rebuild it from the ground up, maybe with Scump if he can get him out of there, maybe without, and then the Chicago Huntsman, a brand that he built and put a lot of love into, would basically be against him. It'd be very weird with the colour schemes and everything he's done, because he's been pushing the Chicago Huntsman as well. So I don't really know exactly how he would go about accomplishing this. For me, Chicago Optic Gaming sounds fantastic. It's what I would think. But it's very curious, right? Because obviously there is another party involved in this, and that is the league. The Call of Duty League has final say over acquisitions and transfers in the league. So Hex can't just do whatever he wants. No matter how much he buys, you can't just buy things and change things when you want to. The league has to approve it. Now, benefit being is the league is very well aware that Optic Gaming has a significant amount of pull, fan base wise and numbers wise. So the benefit being is they'll be like, well, having a good Optic is not going to be bad. I mean, they already have a good Chicago Huntsman. It basically took over from it, but Optic Gaming has a lot more pedigree. A lot more pedigree. There is a lot of things to consider here. Maybe I mean, people want him to sell it to Nade Shot for 100 Thieves to have in to get into the league. I don't know how that would work. I don't know, because it wouldn't be 100 Thieves anyway. It wouldn't be 100 Thieves LA, because they would have to basically be a completely new entity within it, and 100 Thieves are involved in other esports, and it's complicated. I think someone else has mentioned that it could be a content brand. Huntsmen, Chicago Huntsmen, and Optic Gaming as two entities without the slot. So if you manage to rip the brand away from Optic Gaming LA, because if anything, that brand is tarnished without Hex. With Hex it's good, without Hex it's not good. So another company probably wouldn't want the brand unless they're going to have Hex too, because they know what a terrible time it's been for Infinite and Immortals. So maybe he goes, look, I'll take Optic Gaming. We'll rename LA to something else. The LA Let's Go, or whatever. It doesn't matter. LA Legacy, anything. I'm not going to go into the numbers. Renames it, sells the slot back on, either for better or for worse. It's a brand new start, if he can sell it. And then Optic Gaming becomes a content brand. Possible. It's very possible. Again, like, there's so much involved with this. NRG, what do they want? Is he going to sell the Optic Gaming brand to NRG and have that as part of the family? Is he going to go his own way and get rid of his shares in NRG and go, you know what, I'm going full Optic Gaming again, full throttle. We'll try and get Scump. We'll try and get everybody back. We're going Optic Gaming LA. It's very confusing because we've only got a few things to go for. Now, obviously, the key part of this is Hex has to have a plan. He hasn't just done this for a whim. You don't throw millions around without a whim or jump on it. Clearly, the Optic Gaming LA franchise does not want to be part of the CDO anymore, because I don't think Hex has gone in with some sort of crazy offer of like his 60 mil. They clearly want to get rid of it. They know the Optic Gaming brand is terrible. It's gone very, very badly for Immortals. They don't want it. It's pointless them going on, and even a rebrand would ruin Optic Gaming, because then they wouldn't have that brand. And what is the point of buying that brand if you're never going to use it, because it was a powerful brand? Best of both worlds, sell it to Hex. Hex wants it. He's the only person who would want that brand. It has meaning to him, and he can save it himself, like some sort of avenging angel, right? And if they want rid of the franchise as well, they can. It's so complicated. I'm so interested to find out what Hex is going to do with Optic Gaming, because it could be the return of the real Optic Gaming to Call of Duty. And that is something very, very special, because I imagine Hex loves the idea of the history here. The content only aspect of it has legs, but I think Hex would want them to be in Call of Duty in the league, because he would want Scump to play under Optic Gaming. That makes the most sense. Hey, we don't even know if it's just Hex. It could be an investment group. It could be Scump. Scump could have bought part of it himself as well. We don't know, right? Anything could have realistically happened with this, and it is possibly the biggest news in the off-season so far, which is why I had to do it. But there are so many legal ramifications to it. I don't know. I have no idea exactly what is going to happen. But I am excited to find out. Let me know what you think below, what could happen, what you would like to see happen. Subscribe. Thank you all for watching. Optic Gaming is back, baby. #Greenwall.